All right, should we get going?
Yeah, let's get started.
All right, fantastic. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Joel Bush. I'm Vice President of Growth for SchedulePop, and with us today is Mac Burton, who is Director of Sales for Clubs, and Ben Wingrove, who is our founder and CEO of SchedulePop. Thank you guys for choosing SchedulePop to spend the hour of partner review with. We're excited to show you a little bit more about what we're up to, and really excited to be kicking off our partnership with Clubessential. Today we're going to talk about staff scheduling, which I know is an exciting topic for everybody. We're going to spotlight some important statistics that are relevant to what we do here and how we can really have an impact on your club. And we're going to be going through a walkthrough of the SchedulePop system so you can get a feel for how simple it is to use and how you and your managers and your staff might be able to leverage this technology in your club. Before we get going, we're going to take the temperature of the audience and make sure that we're all on the same page as far as staff scheduling goes. So if you could click on the little 3-person icon over on the left-hand side of your screen, that will take you to the polls. We're going to take a poll, which is, what is the first thing you think of when you hear of staff scheduling? Let's keep in mind this is a public forum. Let's keep these responses PG and PC. But if you guys could go ahead and type in.
But don't hold back.
Yeah, don't hold back, other than keeping it clean. And just let us know what you think of staff scheduling. Again, what the first word to come to mind is. We're getting, anybody having trouble getting in there?
Oh, there's some coming through.
Oh, there we go. Frustrating,
Yeah.
Labor dollars, stressful, time suck, headache, conflict, bad. Okay.
It's funny because these are, when I was thinking about starting this company, I had a venue and my wife was doing the staff scheduling and we would meet about it all the time. And everything that you guys said was kind of like the little gray cloud over my head that I was thinking about when we did this. So we're all on the same page, I think.
Yeah, right on. It certainly looks like, even if we may not have the exact same words to describe it, it sort of feels like we're all on the same page, at least based on these responses. And if nothing else, this is an area that leaves some room for improvement in clubs and really any business with hourly employees with important jobs to do. In fact, when a good system and a good scheduling system are in place, staff scheduling can have a measurable impact on the employee retention, how frequently your employees turn over, and better scheduling has also been proven to increase overall productivity. So obviously these are key metrics for any business, and particularly in clubs during these times. Not surprisingly, if that system also includes budget-based scheduling tools, better scheduling can improve coverage, reduce labor expenses, eliminate unplanned overtime, and add predictability to one of your club's largest ongoing operating expenses. According to Burson, which is a group inside of Deloitte, employee turnover is 174% more likely without real-time scheduling capabilities. In other words, employees are almost twice as likely to leave if the employer doesn't provide real-time tools to check and manage schedules, right? Please note, a printout of a spreadsheet taped to the wall of the break room is not a real-time scheduling system. Okay, so providing real-time scheduling capabilities can be a key factor to retain employees. We've got that. Organizations with predictable scheduling are 53% more likely to have lower turnover than their industry average. This is a study from Aptitude Research. I feel like this is a fairly easy point to understand, and I might have beat it to death on the last slide, so I'll spare you here. But the big takeaway here is that there is a direct correlation between having a clean system for building and managing schedules and a club's ability to retain top talent. Now let's talk for a minute about the importance of team communication and the impact a tight system can have on your team's dynamics and really getting to the goals and objectives of the organization. According to McKinsey & Company, employee productivity increases 20 to 25% in organizations where employees are connected. Now, connected could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. In this particular instance, and according to this study, connected means that employees have clear communication channels to receive company updates and interact with their coworkers and managers. So connecting your team and empowering better communication has a direct impact on productivity. According to Salesforce.com, which if you don't know, they are a monster CRM software company based out of San Francisco. In their studies, they recognize that 86% of employees and executives cite ineffective communication for workplace failures. 86% is a pretty high number. That means, in this group here, let's see, we've got about 20 people in here today. About 16 to 17 of us would agree with that statement there. So it really sounds like better scheduling and communication can have a big impact on a business like yours. If only there were a software tool that fixed all these problems, right? Well, there's one more big area where better scheduling can have an impact, and that is what we hear from club operators everywhere, and that is that labor costs consume 35 to 60% of their club's gross revenue. So let's make sure this intel is accurate for this group, and if you could please, again, click that three-person icon on the left of your screen, and there's a poll coming out to determine what portion of your club's gross revenue is eaten by labor expenses. And we'll just wait just a second for these to come across. See how we rank with what these folks say. Okay, looks like we've got some 35 to 45%, looks like about half at this point. We've got 25 to 35% at about a quarter, 55 to 65% at about a quarter, and over 65 looks like 10% of clubs, at least in this group here, are over 65%. So
big number.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where if you can trim that number by 5%, that could have a pretty substantial and meaningful impact on your club's profitability. Can really have great impacts on your margins, and really do a lot of good things for the club. So don't worry, these problems are all solvable, and you probably won't be shocked to find out that SchedulePop is a great tool to mitigate all of these problems here. So sorry folks, wrong screen there. So that's why we're excited to be working with Club Essentials, and excited to be making this tool available to you all. And this is SchedulePop for clubs. This is the only staff scheduling and workforce management tool built specifically for clubs. We partnered with Club Essential because they recognize this is a challenge for their customers. And they went and looked long and hard at a lot of scheduling companies and competitors to ours, and came to the determination that we're the best fit for this group. SchedulePop provides you and your team with state-of-the-art tools to simplify the scheduling process and virtually everything to do with filling shifts. The system is budget-based and allows granular control of the budget. That can be either at the role, department, or the system-wide level. There's built-in communication tools that really help with team dynamics and enable better communication and accountability across your team. And I think you guys are really going to like it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ben, who is our founder and CEO, who's going to give us a walkthrough of the system and show you how we do all these magic things here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joel. And we can go to the first slide if you want.
Yeah.
And Mac, feel free to jump in anytime here as we're talking through. But one thing with the SchedulePop system, one of the first things that we learned from our club clients, and we added to the system very quickly, was that, inside of a club, as you guys know, there's lots of different departments, and each one typically has its own schedule and own managers running staff. And so we built a system, a hierarchical system. So at the top of the funnel, you might have the GM, let's say, and they might have access to look over all the schedules inside of the club. And then we just call them zones in SchedulePop, and you can have a different zone for every department. So like you might have a zone for the pool, and you might have another zone for golf. And at most clubs, the biggest zone that we see is for food and beverage. And they might even divide that out further into subzones like front of house, back of house, that type of thing. So it allows, the whole system's permission based, and it allows, the food and bev manager can be doing their schedule and not have to be involved in, say, the noise of, say, the swimming pool, the pool's schedule, and vice versa. Now, at the same time we do that, my first job out of college, I worked at a country club in Durham, North Carolina called Hope Valley. And I used to work in the sports bar. But I would also pull banquet shifts, like if there was a wedding or something like that. And there were two separate schedules. And it was like Joel was joking about earlier, they were just up on the wall with paper, but I had to run down the stairs to the sports bar and look at that schedule. Then I would run up the stairs, and there were two schedules. So, and with this, in SchedulePop, even if you're just managing one department, the system will prevent you from double scheduling someone. So if you have a lifeguard that wants to make some extra money working a wedding, let's say, you don't have to worry about the banquet manager double scheduling that lifeguard, that type of thing. So there's a lot of things inside the system as we're going through it to keep you on the rails and prevent you from making a mistake, and also to just save you time from having to look things up. Copy tools. So the without diving into the super details here, the reason we wanted to show you guys this slide is that it's super simple to create the schedule, and we have a lot of tools to make it fast to do so. So what we typically do is when a new club comes on, we gather some information from them, and we'll build out the schedule, we'll build out the system for them, build that first schedule, and train you on your system and your schedule. We'll even train each department if there's different departments, and all that's included as part of the system. And then that way, as you're moving forward, it's really fast for you to build future schedules. The schedules can be any length of time you want. You can copy, say you put your schedule out every 2 weeks, you can copy a whole 2-week block to the next 2-week block, and then you can just kind of trim and edit that schedule to have it ready to publish. You can copy a whole day to another day. Oftentimes we have track scheduling tools. So oftentimes, like our food and beverage departments love that, because say you have a line cook that's working 4 days on, 3 days off, and then that's just what they do. You could build that out for as long as you want that to go. Say you had turnover and that line cook left and you had to put a new one in, you can just snap another person right into that same track, or copy that track to another person. It makes it really easy. So just the big takeaway is it should take, what we have clients where, like, if they were spending like 3 or 4 hours making a schedule, it should take like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get the schedule out the door. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Joel. It's slowly fading in from, okay, here it is. This is just showing another view. So the screen we were on before, I didn't do a good job of pointing it out, but it's supposed to look kind of like a traditional schedule where, you've got the list of your folks on one side, and you see their shifts kind of going across the page. But a lot of our larger clubs really like this tool, and it's a shift view. So you could build a shift. Like in my case, when I was working at the sports bar, there was always that opening shift on Sunday, and I always was working, it seems. So that you could have this, you could have the shift in the system, and you might know you always need 2 bartenders and a line cook for that. And you could build that wireframe of your schedule and just copy the wireframe, and then you could have an employee just color that in with whoever they were scheduling for that. So it's just another way to look. It's also a great tool for managers to just at a glance just see where they have coverage gaps. So they can look at this slide, and I know it's small, but where you see the little red dots, there's an icon there that's letting them know that they're understaffed. And then where you see that kind of pop up there in the middle of the screen, that's showing you can really quickly go and go, oh, I needed I needed 2 bartenders. I only have 1. And then this is handy. It's showing me a list of every bartender that can do the shift, how many hours they're already scheduled for, so I don't create an overtime situation, and I can just choose the one I want. It also, there's ranking tools and seniority tracking tools in the system as well that they're optional. Not all the clients like to use those, but you can, and all those things you can sort who you have available and schedule with that too, if you please. Okay, next slide. Budget and overtime tools. This is a big factor, and this ties into some of the things Joel was talking about at the beginning. You know, it's amazing how just when the department managers start to see that there's accountability and people are looking at the schedules, the things just tighten up almost overnight. And in fairness to the department managers, just having a clear directive of, hey, this is the budget, and having an easy way for a manager to stay on budget is something that a lot of our clients didn't have before using this tool. You know, it's hard enough, you know, usually doing the schedule like we noticed on the very first slide when we were doing the word cloud, it's not high on the list of everyone's favorite task. So most people, if you're like me, when I had my venue, you're just trying to get the schedule out and just move on with your life and get on with what you really feel like you need to be doing. And so, you know, you're doing it as fast as possible, and it's easy to miss things. So what this does is it allows you to, while you're doing the schedule in real time, you can have your budget set, and you can have a separate budget for every department. And within that department, if you want to, you can have a separate budget for every job code. So you could have a different server budget than bartender budget if you want. And then the system's just showing you if you're over or under, where you are in relation to that daily budget and weekly budget. At the same time, it's also showing you how many hours you have scheduled any particular employee for, and it's giving you indicators anytime you put someone into overtime. The key here is, if any of you guys are like me, when I would find out about overtime, it's when I was holding the payroll statement and looking at it, and I could stomp around all I want at that point, but I've spent the money. And so the idea here is if we can catch those situations and discuss them with managers and the team before the shifts happen, you can typically save a significant amount of money on that labor budget, which, as we saw earlier, is a huge part of everyone's overall budget. Okay. Another popular feature here, the system tracks availability and time off requests. So just as an example, like in SchedulePop, availability would be, like maybe you're hiring somebody and they tell you, like, I always have class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I can't lifeguard those days. That's availability, and that recurs automatically. So anytime you're working on the grid, instead of glancing at a Post-it note, it's already on the grid, and you know those things. Time off, most of our clients, their staff, they use, we have 2 free apps for our clients to use, and one is a manager app and one is a staff app, and we'll show you both of those in a few minutes. But most of the staff, they just go onto the staff app, and they can just make their time off requests, and then those appear both in the manager app or just kind of in that desktop laptop console, the web app that we were looking at earlier. And you can, manager can quickly approve or deny time off. And when they do that, the system automatically notifies the staff. So like if Mac asks for time off, I approve it, he'll get a text immediately. Oh, wow, I got my time off approved. If I don't want to receive a text, I can see it in the app. I can get an email. I can get a push notification. So there's a lot of ways that we get messaging to you, as we'll continue to show you as well. Publishing the schedule. This in SchedulePop, when we say publish, we mean this is the moment when you're delivering the schedule to your team. And you can do that you can publish it by zone if you want, and you can have different managers publishing at different times, and you can publish any length of time schedule you want as well. And when you publish it, that the the little image of the mobile device there shows you like an example of what a schedule might look like when it's coming to a staff member. But once you have the schedule the way you want it, you could be working on, maybe you're working on the schedule now, and then everybody's really busy in the club business and, around the holidays. You might also be kind of working on your holiday schedule in advance, like months out, but you don't have to publish that until you're ready. So when you publish the schedule, it'll text everyone their unique schedule, email, push notification, and it'll be in the app. There's some other bells and whistles too, like if any of your staff happen to use, for example, like Google Calendar, system will automatically put the schedule on their Google Calendar for them. It's really, really great feature for just getting that out the door. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Do you have anything to add there, Mac? Or?
No. Like Ben's saying, we give you a lot of ways to communicate with your staff, and publishing is just the best way. You really don't have to worry about people not getting the information. He's going to publish it. They're getting a text, they're getting an email, they're getting a push notification. All the information is coming live. And anytime you make a change, you have to publish again, and they'll get that information new and updates. You're also getting shift notes. Just a bunch of cool information coming really quickly.
That's a good point. Like we have two sets of notes. You can have shift notes, which could be like if you want to give notes to one particular employee, it might be, for example, tasks that you want that employee to do during that shift that are specific for them. You can give them those tasks through the shift notes. Then you can also do daily notes by zone. And a daily note might be something like, you might want to tell all the bartenders that, there's going to be a staff meeting, or don't forget we're rolling out new cocktails, this evening, that kind of thing. You can have a daily note that everyone in the zone sees. The slide that we're on now is talking about swaps and shift reassignments. And so like with swap, you can do, this is a great way to try to prevent a future call out from happening. I'm sure everybody loves call outs, but with the swap feature, say I scheduled Joel to work on Thursday, and he's planning to be off playing golf that day. That's what he hopes to do, but he's on the schedule. He's got to find someone to cover his shift. So at my old business, when that happened, someone would call up and just be like, hey, I can't bartend that night. And then my wife and I would be calling like 47 bartenders trying to find somebody to cover, and it was miserable. And so what this does, it allows the staff member to try to get their own shift covered, but it automates it. So basically, Joel sees that he's scheduled to work. He doesn't want to work. He knows he's responsible for coming in, but he'd like to try to find someone. He taps one button, system automatically notifies every other person that can do his job duty that's available to work. So if he was a bartender, it would just notify the bartenders. There's no sense in bothering, somebody that can't bartend about that. So, and in SchedulePop, you can have multiple job codes that you can do. So if you have a lifeguard that can also bartend, they would hear about this, that kind of thing, even though they might be working in different zones. So, and then anyone that wants to pick up the shift can tap on it, pick up the shift, and the manager can still approve that swap. So maybe you have 4 people try to pick it up. It might be hard to see here, but in our little example, there are a couple people that want to shift. The system will also show you anybody that is available to pick up the shift, but maybe didn't request it. And then you'll also, again, see how many hours are already scheduled for, and you can choose who you'd like. And as soon as you tap on that, that's okay. The system lets everybody know on both sides, hey, Mac, you're working that shift now. Hey, Joel, you don't have to work it. Somebody's got it covered. So everything's automated from the manager's point of view. So again, no more wasted calls and contacts. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Open shift management. There's tools for like if you need to create an open shift on the fly, you can create a shift. Say it's like you were getting close, maybe an event just comes up out of the blue, just a very last minute event. So last minute, maybe the schedule's already out for that time period. you could build a schedule. You could, well, not a, you could build a shift. You know, say like you got a call, the optometrist club is doing a meeting out of the blue, and it's a luncheon and you need 5 people. You could just build that shift really quickly. You could do it right there on your manager app if you wanted. You could build the shift, and then you could publish the open shift, and it would let everyone know, kind of like we're talking about with swaps, and people could request to work that shift if you wanted. Or you could build the open shift and staff it, and then just publish that. You don't have to republish the whole schedule. It would just notify the people that are affected by, you know, the new shifts that you assigned. So it's a really handy tool. Okay. Message staff. Mac, you want to talk about the message staff tool a little bit?
Sure. So, and let me just say this, guys, there's a Q&A session over here going on too. So if you have questions or anything while we're going, just type them in. I'll see them on the backside and we'll try to answer them at the end. But just as far as messaging staff, this is actually one of my favorite features. And especially, I think, since the whole quarantine, like the COVID stuff, like communication's key. So in SchedulePop, all your employees will be a part of the system. And when you need to push out information, you can push it out to every employee. You can push it out to certain zones, certain duties, however you want to. But the cool thing is you can jump in here, you can hit message staff, and then bam, everybody got that information. And one of the neat things, it's a one-way street, right? So it's not a group text where I send out, hey, there's a meeting tomorrow, and I'm getting 1,000 thumbs ups and emojis and side chatter. It's not that. This is for administration to send out information and people get it. It's great if there's inclement weather, if there's any situation, you just need to reach everybody. Now, we also do have the capability to message out through through text messages in the manager app. And we'll talk about it later. But this right here is just one quick way to reach everybody with just a couple clicks.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And of course, no matter how many little bells and whistles we throw into this thing, possibly one of the top questions we get asked is, can you still print the schedule? Of course you can. And as we would go around and visit clients, we noticed that when they would print out our schedule, we thought we were being smart and having it just black and white the whole way to save ink for them. As it turns out, they were taking highlighters and highlighting things. So we threw some color in there too. So you can color code the schedule that prints out too, if it makes it a little more like what your team's used to looking at too, which is kind of nice. So, and you can, you know, over the years, we have different clients just ask for different ways to print that schedule, and you can slice and dice this thing really any way you want it. Okay. And so now let's take a look at the manager app here. And can you go to the next slide, Joel? So I wanted to just kind of go through like one of the most popular features on the manager app is dealing with this mess that you see here on the slide right now. And maybe we can take a quick a poll here as well, Mac. It's like just imagine like the current process of you're at work at the club, you're going about your job, you're walking around the halls, going to check on a room or something like that, and you get a call, somebody can't make it, they're calling out. And I'm just curious, like, how much time do you guys spend each week just dealing with schedule changes, call outs, trying to deal with time off requests, finding extra coverage, all of these things? I'm just curious to see what everybody thinks here. Yeah, it never stops. Yeah, so it's wow. Yeah, so there's some people spending 4 to 5 hours a week on this. Think about that. Wow. But anyway, so what we've tried to do is we did focus groups with our club clients, and we put together a manager app to try to make it so that our busy club managers and executives can deal with these things on the fly, because you're typically not sitting. It's a hospitality industry. You're not sitting behind a desk and closed doors all day. You're out there moving around the club. So that we can go to the next slide and show you how we simplify these things. So when you glance down at the manager app, the first thing you'll notice is it's going to default to the current day, and it's showing you everyone you have working. And you can see like, okay, here's who I should have. And I know it's a little hard to see on the slide, but the folks that are highlighted in light blue there, those are people whose shift is going on at that moment. So at that moment, I can see exactly who I have. And again, I know it's hard to read, but they're the second person down. Her name is Jill on this slide. And say I noticed, Jill isn't there. Is she coming in? I'm not sure. So you can, when we go to the next slide here, I could just swipe left on the manager app, and I can just tap to text her or call her directly through the manager app. And say the result of that is Jill's not coming in. Maybe her car broke down and she hadn't even had time to let me know yet, that kind of thing. And like, I've got to fill this shift. Maybe it's a big event coming up. So you'll notice I can just tap. There's an icon there for, basically a person with a cross through it. Like it means no Jill today. And so when I tap that, the next screen that comes up, the one that's in the middle there, I can record that as a call out, a no call, no show. We've got a quarantine feature we'll tell you about in a few minutes. But so say if I tap call out, then the system automatically, it knows what's the next step, right? I got to fill the shift. So then it's letting me know if I want, I can hit a button and it'll create an open shift automatically, move Jill off there, and let everybody know, and people can pick up the shift. And then it's just like that automated flow that we keep talking about. So the idea is you're on the move. This thing comes at you. Maybe you're standing at the host stand, in the fine dining restaurant. This happens. You don't have to run away and start making phone calls. You can just tap a button and deal with it. Okay, we can go to the next slide. And also some of these other things we were showing you guys, it's also handy to be able to do them in the manager app. So like we were talking about time off requests, we're talking about swaps and shift reassignments. You can deal with all of that. Just, again, like you could just be walking from the pro shop over to the pool to check on something, and you could just be knocking out your swaps, just thumbs up, thumbs down, that it's that easy. Okay. Again, same goes for shift management. This is just another shot of what we talked about earlier, where I could deal with that open shift if I had to create that on the fly, or maybe I noticed a shift was short staffed and I wanted to manage that. I did it really easily on the manager app. And then now I wanted to just take a few moments and we'll show you what your staff sees, what their view is. So we can go to the next slide. And so this is like when your staff logs into the free staff app, they'll see this is like a common view. That first shot is kind of like your monthly view, and then they can just kind of scroll through and see their shifts and when they're scheduled. And it's letting them know when they requested time off, what was approved, when they requested a swap that they wanted to pick up, when there was a shift that they wanted to swap to someone else. It lets them know all of those things really simply. And there's a great filter view if they just want to see all the open shifts available to them to pick up. Like say there's a shift way out in the future, that they might not see, and maybe they weren't paying attention to the text. They were just like, oh, I got to make a rent and I want to pick up some work. They could just hit that, see all the open shifts available, and then just start selecting what they would like to work. And again, that's a great way to keep your staff engaged, work the people who want to work while keeping in mind on the overtime, and allowing people to be a little more flexible with their work schedules, because it's easier for them to find someone to cover a shift. And again, all those things, they lower your turnover. Okay, so that other shot, I'm sorry, I didn't really speak to it, but yeah, that's just that other screen that Joel had up was just showing how easy it is to swap. You just swipe left, tap swap, boom. And then this is just showing.
And just one thing sorry to interrupt you. I think one thing that's important to make sure folks understand is that there are preferences behind the scenes that really dictate what those business rules look like for club. So swap shifts without a manager intervention, that's possible. Or it can require manager approval. It just depends on how you guys want those to be swapped. So it's not just a free for all necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see one of the questions that we had here from Nikki was, can you schedule vacations and holiday time? And yeah, that's how you would do it. Also, to that point, Nikki, you can also black out days from receiving requests for vacation or holiday time. Like I remember my days at Hope Valley, you were not supposed to ask off for New Year's Eve. You're working New Year's Eve. And, you know, there's no need for you to get 72 time off requests for New Year's Eve that you have to tap. Even just tapping 72 times, there's no need to do that if you're not going to give anyone time off. So you can also black out days as well. And then this is getting into just showing you anything that's on, you know, almost every client we have, there's probably still a couple staff members there that they might still have like an old flip phone. They don't want a mobile, they don't want, you know, a mobile device, a smartphone for whatever reason. You can access all these same tools via any internet connection, the desktop. I see Cindy had a question just about how to deal with employees that might not be as computer literate as others. This is one way to just give them more device options, but even if that, you know, say they just don't want to do this, none of this has to preclude them. They can still view the printable schedule. There's even a way you can hit print as a manager and just print one person's schedule and hand that to them if you want to help that employee. And they can still go about, you know, making the request the way they have done traditionally if you want to accommodate them that way. In any of the tools that we've shown you, a manager can also handle those things. So if like in our example earlier, if Joel wanted time off for Thursday and say he lost his phone or whatever, he just didn't want to, he wasn't computer literate, then he could walk up to me as the manager and say, I'd like time off on Thursday, and I can just pull out the manager app. I can just log into SchedulePop and I can just put in a time off request that way too. So it's easy to help those few staff that might need a little more help.
Yeah. And also just to add to that, they will get a text message. So even if somebody's still got a flip phone, when the schedule's published out, they're just going to get a text message, let them know when they're supposed to be working, what job they're supposed to be doing, and the times in which they work. So.
Yeah, that's great. That was really just running through the key functionalities here. We can knock out a few more questions that people have here. Anything else you guys wanted to add before we dive into the questions, Joel and Matt?
I think so. I think there are a few questions in there.
Yeah, let's see. So seasonal operation, yes. So Brent had a question, which is, can individuals be deactivated or activated by a click where you do not have to be removed, added each season? Absolutely. It's really common with the club business, as you guys know. And the way I know we're not going to deep dive into pricing here, but what we try to do is not, you know, we try to work out a price with you, and so you can just use the software all year round, knowing that you're going to there's a seasonality to how much staff you have, and we take that into account when we're figuring out the price, and that way you can have everyone in the system for communication reasons. That said, a lot of seasonal staff, that could make a lot of clutter when you're working on a schedule. So we have tools to filter those things out, but you can also deactivate somebody, and then it's also really easy to reactivate them. In fact, like to that point, we didn't really talk about it in detail, but we have a tool that's been popular now due to COVID. We have a quarantine feature. So you could say somebody was coming into work, you took their temperature, they had a fever, and they had to be quarantined for say 10 days. You just kind of like when we're looking at the slide where you could choose a call out or a no call, no show. There's another button there that called quarantine. You just tap that button. The system automatically quarantines them for those 10 days. So now they're in kind of that inactive status for the 10 days. The system knows if you have someone trying to schedule them, they won't be able to be put on the schedule while they're quarantined. So you don't have to let 8 managers know this. It's automatic. But really, I think one of the best parts about that is, say you quarantine that staff member and they were on the schedule already for 8 shifts. Want to have a real world example? Say a couple of people had to be quarantined. Say you had a big club, you had 10 people quarantined and they were all on the schedule for 8 shifts each. That's 80 shifts you now have to fill. So you can just when you hit that quarantine button, it'll automatically, if it sees like, oh, I just had a quarantine Mac, he had 8 shifts. It lets everybody know about those 8 shifts. People can sign up. The system just automatically will help you just get those shifts filled. And it just helps you manage the whole situation. And it knows when to take them out of quarantine as well. Yeah, I'd say there are a couple questions in here about what sets us apart from competition. I'd say, I'm not here to rip on anyone else's software, but we're very dialed into the club industry. If you walk around, I know there's various trade shows, but I'll just mention one. I know when we're at our booth at CMAA, we're usually the only one there. The other companies you're mentioning, they're not there. It's not like a major focus for them. So a lot of our functionality, our early clients were clubs, and this system was built up around the club industry. And a lot of the functionality is very tailored, to be used by clubs.
Specific to this audience, Ben, I think the integration with Clubessential is huge, right? So one of the things that we're doing there, and we're not there yet, we're just starting development on the integration. But what we're striving for is a single source of data or a single source for employee data. So you enter your employee data in one place, you maintain it in one place, and then that gets sort of copied through an API into SchedulePop, and then we communicate with your payroll service. So instead of having to maintain employee data in Clubessential, SchedulePop, and Paychex or ADP or whatever you do there, the integration is going to allow you to just maintain that in one place and rest assured that it's up to date and accurate in both of those other places. I'm not super familiar with SchedulePop or Hot Schedules. I do know that folks that have come to SchedulePop from those are really big fans of the mobile app and being able to do everything as they're sort of moving around their facility, whether that's in a
SchedulePop does not have mobile apps.
I'd just like to throw in a little bit about that one too. And like I'm saying, we're not trying to rip on any of these other companies, but one thing is our training, onboard, and setup. Usually we go into it real into it, but when you guys go with SchedulePop, we spend a lot of time training you. We try to figure out all the things you need. We build it specifically for your club, for your needs. We turn on all these options and filters, make it easy for you. And then we're still there as you progress to make sure your schedule is getting rolled out. We don't sell you something and just go, oh, thanks, I hope you love it. No, that's us. That's usually, a lot of times it'll be me making sure you're still going. Our client success team is still there. And then at the end of the day, if you have a problem, we do have chats and we do have a lot of things. But our clients can call us and say, hey, this has got to happen. And we're right there. We're working together with you. A lot of good customer support. We really care about our clients.
That is a really good point. Just like you guys, you're in the private club industry, you're in the club space, and you're, I'm sure you're providing that white glove treatment for your members. And most of us here at SchedulePop, we've worked in that environment as well, and that is really how we've tried to position ourselves as a boutique style company, very hands-on white glove service, not trying to be like, hey, a software company in a tower that, hey, we built this really cool thing and it's so easy to use, have at it. We're right in there with you all the time. It's a big difference.
So looking in the questions that just popped in, Steve, there is not, today, there is not an integration. It is, I believe, the next roadmap item for one of the development teams at Clubessentials, and it's next up on our side. Fortunately, we're both very compliant with the standards that are out there for internet security and APIs and things like that. So the connection should go pretty quickly and come together pretty quickly. Ben, I don't know if we've gotten as far as soft launch date on the integration yet or not.
It's actually, there's a call about that tomorrow.
It's forthcoming. It's very soon. Very soon.
Very soon. We'll
So I think that takes off Andy's question as well. What's a rough estimate on the integration? We don't know for sure, but it is in process. And we and Clubessential have both been ringing the bell saying that's going to be a Q1 thing. So that probably gives us about 6 weeks to come in on that timeline. Let's see, is there current communication? Yeah, I'm not familiar with TimeStar, Brent.
Pretty much.
Go ahead, Ben.
Any payroll system. Yeah, we've got RESTful APIs, as they say, and so that just means it's really easy for us to connect and communicate with really any payroll system or any system for that matter. We give you an example, like we're doing an integration right now with UltiPro. We're just signed a deal to do integration with ADP. But those integrations are very similar, right? The things that the payroll connectors need to do are typically the same. And most of the payroll systems have an API as well. We just tie to it. So, for example, if in this question, Brent, if you're using TimeStar, we'd love to tie to it. It wouldn't be hard. You basically, what our clients do is they just get us on the phone with somebody from that third-party software company. We have a quick conversation of how to get to their API so we can just connect them. And then, usually it's a pretty short turn on having that integration done. And our stance is we want to integrate with as many folks as we can. So, the more the merrier. Please bring that on. We would love that.
Fantastic. Well, it looks like
I think we got one more question coming in here too. I'm sorry. And then also anybody, if you want some more information, maybe you're thinking about adding going forward SchedulePop. If you put your information in the Q&A section, I'll get it. I won't share it with the world, give them your email or anything. But if you want us or one of our representatives to contact you after the show, just throw us an email and we'll be happy to.
It won't appear in this public chat here. It'll be screened out from that, so you know.
There we go.
Well, I can tell you where we're going on that, Nikki. So Nikki had a question about like where else are we going with the Clubessential integration, and there'll be there's going to be phases to this, but one of the things we're really excited about is we're working on a time clock system that'll tie in really neatly with the mobile apps that we showed you, and the plan is to have that as a major feature between Clubessential and SchedulePop. We'll have that tied in really tightly, and that's going to be a really cool win when that rolls out. And with what we're talking about doing with the time clock is just you can have I don't want to get way into vaporware with you guys, but some of the features would be sorry, my kids are running. It's COVID times, right? So some of the features might be like you would have the ability to clock in from your app, and everything's geofenced, so you'll know where that your employees where they're supposed to be when they clock in, facial recognition. And then on the manager side, a big thing would be you'd see, like when you're looking at the manager app, you'll see when people clocked in and clocked out. You'll know that they're there. You'll know if they clocked in late or early. You can set your limiters, and you can deal with fixing those punches and things right there on your device. I'm sure you all get, well, I forgot to clock in. I got to do this. We can also minimize some of the clock in and out mistakes by knowing where people are. So if somebody is anxious to get home after work on a Friday night and they speed out of the club and didn't clock out, second that their mobile device knows they left the club zone, it can send them a message, hey, noticed you left the property. Did you forget you want to clock out now? Just tap here, that kind of thing. So we're excited about that. That was a good question.
I think that's all the new questions this came in, Ben. A couple people have asked about information. I'll reach them later on.
Okay, great. Well, really appreciate everybody coming out to and spending the hour with us. I think we bought you guys maybe 8 minutes of free time here before whatever you got to do next. Joe, I think we lost your audio.
Can't hear you.
Just take that out. I said we'll hang out till the end of the hour if anyone has any additional questions or wants to chat about anything. But that is the end of the Dog and Pony Show as far as that goes. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Some good questions came in. Those are great.
So it looks like somebody asked, is there a code for CMAA credit? You guys know anything about that?
I think that was for all of the non-vendor sessions, Mac.
Okay.
So the running your club in real time and some of the other ones, they have the very end of the session, they get a CMAA continuing education credit code for that, but I don't think that applies to ours.
Brent, you might want to, just in case, you might want to ask Marilyn or someone on the Clubessential team. But we weren't issued any code to give out.
Brent, just so you guys know, Brent thanked us, so I'm not going to post that. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah, that's a good question. Mac, do you want to handle the pricing question?
So as far as the pricing, a lot of times what we would do, we'd speak to you about your club. We want to kind of talk to how many employees you got, how many locations we want to use, and from there we'd give you a quote. So for an actual precise quote, we really would need to just have a conversation with you about it. We don't just have a set standard like that. But normally in all our dealings and negotiatings, we really try to find a fair price that you and we feel really good about before we go forward with it. But
usually we can give you that price. So once we're talking to you, within like being on the phone with you for maybe like a minute or two, we're able to give you the price right over the phone. It's not terribly complicated. We just want to get a feel for what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that weighs into the seasonality too, where a lot of clubs may have, one size staff from, I don't know, let's say April to October, and then a much different size staff from November through the winter. We want everyone to be active and available through the system for team communication all year. And so what we do is sort of average out the number of employees you have for the year. And just, the real rough metric on that is about $2 per employee per month, based on your average number of employees through the year. So just so we're not completely skating your pricing question there, Nikki.
Yeah, that's a good question.